I remember walking into a Tractor Supply and finding that an educator was holding a Eurasian eagle owl on his glove. Eurasian eagle owls, depending on sex and age, can range from 3 to 9 pounds, so this is not a small animal. I went home with falconry on my mind because I told this man how much I love birds of prey, and that was the sport he mentioned. I think a lot of us can say we've seen a raptor on a telephone pole on the side of the road, but few of us can say that we understand how a guy and a modern dinosaur work together to hunt rabbits and squirrels in the woods. While I never acquired my falconry license, I have studied for it and I've actually witnessed a falconry hunt before, so I'd love to share some of that knowledge with you today. Like a public speaker sharing information with a crowd, communication between falconer and falcon must remain clear yet concise, and the falconer does this by first proving to the bird that he's trustworthy. And then, after that, he needs to set up this credible relationship between completing certain tasks and earning rewards. Then, the bird's behavior must be shaped further to provide consistent responses. Now, back to the first step, trust. This part of training is called manning, and one process used is waking. Waking means that the falconer takes advantage of the short period a raptor goes through when they're initially caught. Lydia Ash, a master falconer and author of the website The Modern Apprentice, explains that the combination of the falconer holding the bird and letting all of the normal experiences of what will be her new life wash over her acclimates a bird very fast to the household, TV, dogs, children, people, etc. The downside to this is it's not uncommon for a bird to develop fears of certain objects or sounds. The opposite of waking involves blinding the raptor with a hood. The hood is like a panic room helmet for the bird of prey. There's a lack of visual stimulus and it keeps the bird calm. This allows the falconer to fine-tune the rate at which it acclimates to its new environment, which is kind of like homeschooling where a student gets to learn at their own pace. Light levels are adjusted, and because the bird doesn't see anything scary, it's probably not going to develop any chronic fears of objects. Now, assuming this bird is manned successfully, further training can take place, and this is where the association between completing actions and receiving food comes in, which I can get behind. The whistle is the first positive stimulus a hawk learns, which is that sound you hear when an educator flags down a raptor and they perch on the glove. The association is made by making the sound whenever food is presented or whenever the raptor eats, which means that the bird is not returning to the glove because it's being polite, it's returning to the glove because it's responding to the dinner bell. Since food is so important in raptor communication, weight needs to be adjusted accordingly. I actually have here my Georgia Falconry Association Apprentice Manual, which was published in 1995 and is still used to teach training techniques. And it mentions that if it performs its jumps rapidly with intensity, it is given better quality food that puts weight on quickly with a more predictable pattern of reward. Should its efforts decrease as its weight goes up, I reduce the quality of the food and make my reward schedule less predictable. So while the falconer's goal is to let the bird manage its own flying weight, he's also allowing it time to recognize that greater effort leads to better, more predictable rewards. So the bird trusts the falconer, and the bird has made that food association. Now the behavior needs to be shaped so that the bird is more driven during a hunt. Operant conditioning is one philosophy used, which some of you might already know as clicker training. It means the use of positive reinforcement to achieve certain actions. Now, I should mention that punishment as a form of negative reinforcement does not work for raptors because they're not social like dogs. I have my California Hawking Club Apprentice Study Guide, which was edited by Frederick Holderman and published in 2011. It's mentioned that while raptors do not have a long attention span, they do form long-lasting patterns of behavior. Harsh treatment will be remembered and returned, which is ominous, so no to punishment when training raptors. Our friend Lydia Ash describes operant conditioning as response followed by stimulus, or stimulus followed by response followed by another stimulus, which is a positive way to break up an action into steps. Operant conditioning can encourage an animal to work longer without giving up. The whistle and food both act as positive reinforcers, which aid in complex communication. Meaning, when a bird flies to the glove and they're not given food, the whistle can be used a second time so that rewards can be varied without confusing the raptor. So, falconers communicate with these raptors by building trust, providing food, and of course using operant conditioning. The falcon learns about its new environment, it recognizes the falconer as a god of tasty meat treats, and its behavior is shaped with varied rewards and multiple positive stimulus. Now, Cale Roberts is a former editor of Mother Earth News, and he wrote an article called Falconry for Pest Control in 2020. He writes about Adam Chavez, a master falconer who goes to various farms and uses his raptors to chase off pests like starlings, crows, and seagulls, which is important because starlings are said to decimate 80% of a berry crop in 5 hours. So not only have falconers learned how to hunt in an incredibly awesome way, but they're educating the public about these magnificent animals and providing an environmentally friendly way to get rid of these pests.